Welcome back, everybody. We are For Pilates' Sake, Veronica Matilda. We're going to show you today the straight leg press on the chair, front and side. She's going to teach me.
Okay. The spring is a 2, which is typically plenty because the strength required on the hip to be able to move that 2 is quite substantial. Now, what you want to make sure is that, first of all, finding the position of where you need to stand, I think, is kind of an important piece. So you want to be standing straight up and down and then be able to reach the paddle in an external rotation. It's not a huge external rotation, but it's turned out. And you're on the outside of your foot with a softish knee, kind of like that attitude that we did. And Veronica is drawing the leg into her hip joint and she's holding that solid. From here, you can take your hands at your hips, you can take them at the base of your skull, whatever feels the most comfortable for you. And it's basically just the inhale to bring the paddle down, and then the exhale allows the spring to push you back up. Now, it's not the foot or the knee or the shin that's actually pushing the paddle down. Veronica is going to slurp her femur bone into the hip to allow the paddle to lower, and then she's literally going to rotate the leg in the hip joint to allow the paddle to pick the leg back up again. So this is one version of it, which is where the leg is moving in the hip joint independent of any spinal movement. The second version you can try is the hip joint doesn't move. It's all spinal flexion that allows the paddle to go down. So now it's an inhale to push the paddle down and an exhale to rise up. We're going to switch the breath after a couple. Okay, so she's going to inhale to bring it down and then exhale back up. So now I want you to change your breath. You're going to take a big breath in to start. And I say that just because on an exhale, you can contract your flexors easier, which makes this, I think, more available to you. So you can exhale, flex your spine, the leg comes with, allow the paddle to rise you back up again. Yeah?
Nice.
So Veronica's got her hands on her forehead, because if you take your hands onto your forehead and you gently push into your hand, it brings you into your center quite nice. And the other thing you don't want to do is lead your flexion ever with your head. You want your flexion to be happening in your spine.
I wanted, we talked about this being the home reformer, and you would do front splits on the reformer. This could be a form of front splits where the inner line is scissoring as well to pull the paddle. So you got the hip and you got the inner line, and then the inner line is splitting. So there is a subtle shift on my standing leg because I feel like both legs are drawing together to scissor past each other, and then whatever contracts is now lengthening by the lift of the paddle. And just small.
Well, and huge. Like we talk about full body all the time. Right? So never ever is there a piece of our body that shouldn't be contributing to the movement in one form or another. Right? So that standing leg is really important. The stability of that leg is...
Oh, my standing leg is
it's a lot of work required in that standing leg.
Let's go to side.
Okay, let's do it. When you go to your side, here you are. Again, you want to just be able to reach the paddle. She's in an external rotation. Now the hardest part of this exercise is trying to create a square pelvis.
Right.
Now square meaning her left hip isn't hiked up. So that's a flexibility thing. So, maybe you decrease the spring or you start with the paddle a little bit lower if you don't have the ability to be able to get your pelvis square. And it's the same idea, right? So it's not Veronica's foot that's pushing the paddle down. She's going to draw her leg into her pelvic calf to allow the paddle to lower. So all of the work is happening in the hip joint.
Yeah, and you don't have to pick your leg up. That's the beauty of the spring. Your hip flexor can now relax. Your leg can sit and settle into the deepness of your socket. So again, what contracts to pull the legs towards each other now gets lifted and stretched. And that energy of my tailbone reaching like straight down is helping me sort of disassociate my leg from the hip joint.
And by doing so, this is a super cool part of it, which takes a little bit of time to actually start to have that relationship with the spring, is on the recoiling of the spring, if you allow your leg to sit on the paddle and for the spring to do the recoil for you, you can actually start to create more flexibility in the muscles that it's supporting.
Yeah, I even feel a little bit of my deep six by just allowing that to do its
To
job.
release in it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Thanks for
guys, if
joining
you have
us.
any questions or comments, please put them in the box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have anything that you need answered, please let us know, and
Yeah.
we will get those videos out
Yeah.
ASAP.
We appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.